What did my mom say to me?
What does your mom say to you?
Like, what did she say?
When you were in your childhood.
She said, "Oh,
like,
there's
different things that she would say. What's the scenario?
What's the main?
What if grandma?
Like you come back from hanging out with your friends.
I didn't have any friends.
You knew that was coming.
What did your mom say to you whenever you found a dead fox on the side of the road?
What did the fox say?
What do you think about being the baddest mother bleeper in the world?
All right, this is too many questions at once. I'm still trying to sort this out. When I hung out with my friends,
hilarious.
And I got home, my mom, I guess, would just check on me. How's everything? You okay? Whatever, right? No, but then, the fox on the side of the road was actually a fox in a canyon, and I had poked it with a stick, and I was excited about it because I was looking at this dead fox out in the country, and she told me that I was going to die because germs were going to get up on the stick and then into my hand.
Sounds about right.
And then I'm going to put my hands on, I'm going to eat food and get sick, and then I'm going to die. And I was sad about it. I was scared about it.
What if you had a talkie vacuum?
You're not. It's not practice. It's not practice. It's almost crazy.
Bro, what?
Because you're putting it right in the camera.
So,
bro,
I have a question because you said it's great being you. Great being you, right?
it is great being here. What am I grateful for?
No, not at all.
I thought that's what you were loading up.
No. I'm
Dad,
not some sappy female.
what would happen if you talk back to
Bruh,
grandma?
she's mid-question.
Nothing really because I'm grown.
No, like when you were young, like our age.
My brothers would get pissed off at me. I guess Grandpa would get upset, but really it's my brothers that were putting me in check. They were my
What, is it
peers.
not true, bro?
Cause you never talk to her back to mom, or
But like,
when you're like not listening.
I used to.
So what's your
I was
question?
like little, like small. Y'all be like,
Of all the things that makes a man a male, right, or a male.
Oh yeah, here we go. We're getting ready to talk about some addictive nature that I got.
What makes your dad
But not
happy?
just
The
that.
subject
What makes your
of male
dad
chauvinism.
What
No,
makes your
not just that.
what makes your dad happy?
What were your questions?
I don't know. I get him. He's dead.
Shut the
Nothing.
freak up, dude!
One of the things that made
Jesus
him happy
Christ!
was.
You have done like 3 questions in her 1 question. She hasn't even finished her goddamn sentence.
Wait, did you cry when? No, I was kidding.
So, what is the greatest thing about being a male?
My dad liked being outside. He liked working on things, so I think that made him pretty happy. His family made him happy. The greatest thing about being a male.
Yes. You've been around long
you
enough.
don't trip that much.
No, one's at the top. The top.
The top, that's a lot though. That's a loaded question. So let's, I guess, unpack that shit slowly. I can't give you a one answer, so let me think about it. I can't give you like a direct answer right away because there's a lot of great things. The male's been dominating the fucking earth since humanity. Do you disagree?
Then you unpack.
Cleopatra,
ISIS.
I guess.
Yes.
How many? What's the god to goddess ratio? Go ahead, I'll wait.
I don't know. Go. Horatio. No. Shit. What's?
What is the ratio? How many gods to goddesses are there?
Let's find out the ratio of gods to goddesses.
That's what I'm talking about. Let's sort this shit out.
What was your favorite pet?
Here it is.
My dog Bishop.
Didn't he die?
It's always Bishop.
Or it's always the black people.
How many gods and goddesses were there?
Here's a summary from Amazon.com.
You motherfuckers. Did you know that there's 350 million, over 350 million Hindu gods?
They balling.
Somebody counted all that shit.
That's ridiculous.
I wouldn't count 350 million fucking dollars.
You remember that dude where he was like the name Jesus, right?
It was kind of like 100.
I don't know. All I'm saying is that the number 1 religion
I don't want to watch
on
video
this
right
earth
now.
as of 2020 is Christianity, which is based off a dude being balling.
Don't give me that answer. It goes to Greek gods and goddesses, facts and information, but it doesn't say ratio.
Alright, so anyways, if I had to guess, I don't know all the female
There were
gods.
12 goddesses and 14 Greek gods, if that's what we're looking at.
Okay.
So,
Alright, so the point is that what makes, since the dawn of humanity, men have been dominating. And my philosophy behind that is that women are chaos, Mother Nature. It's a matriarch. You go out into the wilds, and there's wilds out there. But men, in their logical fashion, what is it, left brain or right brain? It's left brain, right? The
Left
logic?
brain is logic.
Right. So the men in their left brain started organizing things, and then you end up with the patriarch. Right? And that's the way it's been for a long time. Now, because the pendulum swings, it started getting over towards a matriarch where women are kind of doing more than what they had been before. But the problem with that is that it's too much correction. Rather than creating a balance, it went too toxic. You know, and that's where they got these Me Too movements and these, I guess, militant feminists and whatnot. What is the greatest thing about being a man?
Male.
Male? A dude?
Dude. Even if
Having
you're
a
like gay,
pee-wee.
Not
straight,
having a
whatever,
vagina.
A dude. Not
Yeah.
having a vagina.
I don't know.
What's
I
wrong
don't know.
with a vagina?
It would
You have
probably,
to
like
sit
Louis
down.
C.K. said, it'd probably have receipts and
It's like a third
dirt
armpit, right?
and shit.
Fucking
I guess.
nasty.
I guess I don't have receipts in there, but
No, but it gets
You know,
all
I can
gross.
imagine how-
It's a crevice. It's hidden. It's gross.
Okay, let's
Right.
stop talking.
Well, you don't have to talk.
I think it'd be pretty cool.
What's the worst thing about
there's a lot of
being
potential to it
The color is this color.
in that capacity. But
Dad, what's the worst thing about being a male?
the worst thing about being a male,
A whale.
Oh,
Whale.
well.
That you have kids.
You speak a whale.
the worst thing about being a male is that you got to carry all that shit sometimes.
Worst thing about being a male is having 4 kids.
Okay, but I'm trying to
3.
figure out what's wrong with the vagina.
There's nothing wrong with the vagina.
That you have to sit down every time you use the restroom.
There's nothing
Men
wrong.
should sit
All
down
right.
every time they use
If a male had
Why
the same,
would you if you have to?
if a
Like
male,
if you're at the
Pee
beach,
everywhere?
if you're at the beach with no toilet, you still have to like.
No, you don't. You squat. I can stand up and pee.
Oh, who
you
wants-
want? You want to see?
No.
I can stand up and pee.
can you write your name in
It's
cursive?
just like.
No, with my hand I can.
So, anyways,
That's funny.
what was I saying?
The worst thing about being a male.
Is it that the camera?
There's not a problem with having a vagina. There's no problem with it. If a man,
Mo, look at my
but taken
back
as
feels. I'm gonna
taken
take-
as
I'm
it
gonna
is,
do damage.
when I say having a vagina, I'm talking about that I'm not a woman, so that'd probably be the best thing. Because you girls have had to deal with a lot of shit because of men.
I'm dead.
So if there's a gender that I would want to be, I would want to be on the side that has a more dominance position, which would be
A
male.
ramming stick. Okay.
A ramming stick?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess, but that's not really what I was going with it. But yeah, I guess that too. That's included, but that's not specific to what I was talking about.
You would want to be in the part
I
that
was
has
talking
all the
about-
fun.
All right, so males in this patriarch, what I was talking about before about chaos and nature and order and I guess society or whatever it is, the patriarchy, right? Males have the goods on that. That's our domain, is order.
Okay.
So when it comes to family life, that's why the males are usually considered the head of the household. When I say males, I'm talking about masculine energy is orderly, right? So the masculine man can take over. I don't want to say take over, but he can lead his family. Feminine woman would have a hard time. She can do it, but she'd have to move into her masculine, right? In order to do something like that. So if she wants to be the head of the house, she can do it, and the male can be a feminine male, and you can have a masculine female, and that'll work. Somebody has to be feminine, and somebody has to be masculine in that scenario. So it's not necessarily a ramming rod. It's not necessarily the vagina, right? There's nothing wrong with having a vagina because a guy can have. Let's say a woman
Still be
has
able to write
a
his name
vagina,
first.
but she can still be muscular and everything else. The problem is that you take this as a side note, because someone may say, well, women can be stronger than men. There's these bodybuilding women. But if you put her next to a bodybuilding man, she can't fucking compete with him. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is. I didn't make it that way. That's just the way the shit is. So, and I know this comes off as kind of male chauvinist like I was talking about. But, I don't know. Does that answer your question? I don't know. What was the question again?
Best thing about being a male. And I got that you're not a female.
Being dominant is really what it is. I'm biased. I'm totally fucking biased. You gotta know that shit. Because all I've been is male. So I haven't been able to participate as a female, and I don't intend to. Because if I had to guess, girls have a lot of fucking hills to climb before they can just try to get on the level that a man is now. I'm not saying it was fair or not, but where a guy is now, they're more than likely to get higher pay wages. They're more than likely to, I mean, I don't know. They get higher pay wages. They're positioned better in the workforces. They're listened to more often. They take on more leadership roles. They have a tendency to do these inventions and further in society and everything else. And it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with women, that they're deficient in something. But the fact is that men are better positioned now because of oppression. Right? Would we agree with that?
Yeah.
Women have been oppressed. So if I was gonna let's talk in terms of oppression and the repressed, right? If I was asking me, what is the best thing about being an oppressor? Well, being the oppressor. I'm in a good position. There's nothing wrong with being oppressed, right? But if I'm gonna be one or the other, if I'm gonna be the submissive or the dominant, I would rather be the dominant because that's a better position to be in. Does that make sense? Yes? No? Do you want $5 million or do you want $1 million? Well, of course, I want $5 million. That's a better position to be in, right? So
Wait, Marshall, I'm gonna call your
it's a
phone
chicken
real
and egg
quick,
thing, I
okay?
guess, in some
Why?
ways. What came first?
So I
But
can know if it's
it's a
your
paradox.
phone, 'cause I have
But
to
I would
call
rather
numbers
be in a
for
heavier
you.
position, and I think that's the
But
good
just go on
thing
the
about
thing and
it.
it says 2109
That's
for
what's
4.
good about it.
Just go on the one that says 2109 for 4.
Okay.
If that
And
makes
then
sense.
don't delete that one.
I don't know if that's the answer
Okay.
you were looking for, but what do you think about what I
You
said?
just called the one that you called was the right one.
I don't know.
Does that make any sense at all?
Not at all.
What part doesn't make sense? Because it makes sense to me.
It makes
But if
perfect
it doesn't make sense to
but
you,
it's-
right? If it doesn't make sense to you, then I need to articulate it
What's
differently.
What
What part
bad thing
didn't-
about being a male?
The bad thing about being a male,
A bad thing, not the bad.
being the oppressor. Because then you got to
So
answer.
it's a good thing and a bad thing.
That's a blessing and a curse, baby, every fucking time. That's the balance of it. That's the beauty of it. It's yin and yang. Come and go. When I have a $1 silver piece, right? It's got a heads and a tails. You know? If I say yes to one thing and say no to something else, it's always like this. If there's a man, then there's a female counterpart. You know? Unbreakable and glass. It's the way it is. The reason why those stories are amazing is because they're true. The philosophies, the principles behind them are legit.
There.
You know what I mean?
It's not movies.
So,
What's the best part about being a woman?
is there a best part? No, I'm just kidding.
Honestly, don't know.
That's right.
I've been trying to figure that out for a long time. Yes.
Are there good parts?
There are good parts.
What's
But
the good
I would
part?
prefer to be a male.
Why?
Because from a female's point of
Perspective,
view,
right?
men can be more carefree without
Because they're, what kind of position are they in?
they're the oppressor.
They're the oppressor. They're in a more dominant
Because
position.
if I was a man,
That's
why I
That's what I was
was
talking
made
about a
the
second
man.
ago.
that would be a problem.
It doesn't make sense to me. I knew it makes sense
Because
to
like if
you.
you're a woman, right, and you go out and you like bang a lot of people, you get
Then you're-
stuck.
As either a slut or a whore, you look
get
down upon.
labeled.
It's
You
frowned
get labeled
upon.
first. You're
Right.
not considering the people that are taking
Right.
part in the act with
So,
you.
yeah.
And then you can end up pregnant and then you're stuck, right? So everybody knows what you be getting into. And then you can only do that once, every 9 months. A man can get like 9 women pregnant in a day if he wanted to.
That is cat.
Dis-
Mildly look. he can mildly be looked down upon, or nothing happens at all, or he's considered some sort of pimp or.
4 babies' mamas at the hospital having a baby at the same time. They're like, oh wow, that's pimp shit. Now if it was a girl with 4 different baby daddies
At the
the
same
course of
time.
5 years, well, they can't do it at the same time.
Right, but I guess what I was really saying in my
We're trying to
head.
figure out their baby daddy, like on Mario Pose. You are not
Right,
the father.
right. You're trying to figure
It's
it
like
out.
you done banged 4 people in 2 weeks, and then we
Right.
can't pin it on who it is. It's all her businesses out on Front Street when, you know, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
I mean, there are good parts, of course, but because you are the bringer of life, but that's a lot of responsibility.
Are you though? I
A
mean,
lot.
are you the only one that's bringing life? I
You
guess.
gotta caretake. You gotta care for it, regardless. Like, there's not an option.
Right. It says there's so much not an option that you don't even get to decide on whether you're caring for it. It's just gonna fucking happen.
Exactly.
So you just have to make yourself healthy, and the
But
baby
man
will
doesn't
make
have to
itself
do
healthy.
that. They can just not. They can check out
Has
completely.
there ever been a
This is
woman that
true.
left the family because they couldn't take care of the
Yes,
baby?
a lot of people. That happens a lot. It's pretty normal now, actually.
Because women are moving into a masculine role, and they're not giving a shit about those things. That's what I'm saying. It's starting to become toxic, because that's the woman's nature.
Motherly instinct is
Right.
natural, yeah.
Is to take care of their kids, but when they push against that, that's when it becomes dysfunctional. When I say dysfunctional, I don't mean that it doesn't work, but it doesn't work in a healthy, balanced way where it's in line and in tune with the universe. You know what I mean? I know that sounds kind of woo-woo, but I didn't make it that way. That's just the way the shit is.
Yeah. I agree that, like, if a girl gets with a bunch of guys, they do get labeled that way, and if a guy... But I also believe if a girl gets pregnant, she doesn't need to keep, like, you know what I'm saying? She doesn't need to stay.
No, of course not. But she's got to take care of the baby regardless. Like, she's got options. She does. But
You mean like take care of the baby?
yeah, you have options.
No, it's
Like, you have options, but you have to live with the consequences of your
those
actions.
consequences, yeah.
And they're either way, the girl's not going to end up. There's going to be a mental breakdown somewhere, because you know what you're capable of, you know what you want to do, and if you say, okay, let's have this baby by myself, knowing that you're in it by yourself, right? Have this baby, you take on that responsibility, and then your life is completely dedicated to this baby, which isn't the baby's fault, so you do your best, right? Or you choose adoption, and then you live with my baby's out there somewhere, and a part of you is out in the world, and you know nothing of them. Or you choose the abortion, and then you have to figure out how to sit with that in your mind, because it's gonna play on your mind. And if you have more kids later, you have other kids. If anything ever happens to those kids, you're gonna think that it's karma, or it's something. You're getting punished for what you've done. So it's a mind fuck either way you go. Like, it doesn't matter.
You say if something happens to the kids, you're getting punished?
Yes.
I don't think that's right. I think the kids are getting the ones that are getting punished because it's happening to the kids.
They are, but if they were to get hurt or something tragic was to happen to your child after you've made a decision,
But that
like
happened to the child. It's not happening to the parent.
It's not, but
So that karma doesn't.
sometimes if you believe in karma, shit comes back around, right?
Yeah, but
So
that
you
would.
can if you believe in karma,
If you feel bad, I guess, but I don't know.
hear you, but that's a woman's
It's kind-
mind, though. That's not a
right.
that's why you can't wrap your mind around it, because
No, no.
you're
I'm not talking about that. No, you're right. You're right. You're right about that. But it's not. It's not what I'm saying about wrapping my mind. I can understand. I guess what I'm saying is that's how do you say it? That's out of sync, out of step with, I guess you could say, karma, because you're talking about karma. What goes around comes around. Yeah, she gave up the little girl, and the little girl gets hurt. Now this woman feels sad, so that's her bad karma. Hey, I guess so, but the little girl getting hurt is not her bad karma. The way she feels is her bad karma, not the little girl getting hurt. Because the little girl was going to get hurt for whatever.
Well, maybe karma's
Karma
not the word.
that-
Maybe it's just you just look at it in a different
Her
way.
own fucking
You're gonna
guilt,
look at
maybe.
it- And,
Is
and
that
guilt,
you're-
will,
yeah.
guilt will eat you alive.
Yeah.
So therefore, the girl, yet again, my original point,
Right.
that's a lot to carry. Like, no matter which way you go, that's a lot to carry. But then you You know, you have the man out there. He makes the baby. He
He ain't
can
worried
or
about it, is what you're
cannot.
saying.
Yeah, he doesn't have to worry about the decisions she makes. And if whichever one she chooses, he can be a part or he cannot be a part. Will it affect him? They may never know. You know what I mean? So
who knows what's going on in the mind of a goddamn mongoloid?
So you're saying it's a bad thing that women think like that?
and we have to. That's what makes us different from men. Because we are detail orientated and we look at the bigger scheme than just.
I'm gonna come back. Okay, you said that's what makes you different than men, and I'm gonna come back to that because of a conversation that I had in Waco, right?
Mm-hmm.
That the male chauvinist conversation I had in Waco. I'm not really a
I'm
male
winning.
chauvinist. I'm not really a male chauvinist, everybody, but I get accused of one because of my. It's not even my views. I tell it the way it is, but this is the way nature is. I didn't make it this way. Anyways, but I do kind of talk harsh, whatever. Anyways, the thing that I was gonna say,
Because you're rough with your woman.
I was gonna make a note, and I have a friend who likes sex, and she sleeps with a bunch of men, right?
Are you
And we're
sure
talking about
that's your friend?
just going back to
Or is it a
yeah.
random person that you're making up?
No, it's
It's my
it's his-
friend.
it's his
Your
people.
friend
She like-
info.
She likes yeah, she's an info. She likes sex, but she thinks she gets mad because people think she's a slut or a hoe, and she's not a slut or a hoe. She gets to know these men, and she likes these men. She opens her heart up, but she also likes sex, so that's not all that she's opening, right? And
That's
it's
just a
her-
natural progression of knowing somebody.
right,
That's just
but
what
she may
happens.
not get to know him for very long. She knows him well enough where she likes him, but she's just as horny as the next person, and she acts on those impulses, right? Not intending to be a hoe, she's expecting something more out of it, but the guy is only using her. So somebody that's getting used and they can't seem to sort out that thing of being used, should they be labeled as a hoe? I don't think so. Should they be labeled as a slut? No, because she's just looking for love
In all the wrong
in
places.
all the wrong places.
The wrong
Yeah.
holes.
How does
Type of-
that,
type
how
of
does that
thing.
connect to what she was just talking about?
Because we were talking, that was a throwback to what we were talking about how a woman can be perceived as a slut or a hoe, right? But she really is, in my opinion, she's really not a slut or a hoe. She's a good, wholesome person. She has a lot of feelings, and the people that she sleeps
And
with.
judge a character.
Well, yeah, it's a misstep. The people that she sleeps with, she has intentions. She's into him. She doesn't really have one night stands, I don't think. But I'm not into her business. But the way I hear it is that she has feelings for these people and she wants something to turn out of it, but it never does.
Dad,
You know what I
I
mean?
got a question.
What?
How are you and Dad?
It's like water. It's the three different phases, right? You got gas, liquid, and a solid.
Anyways, back to what you were talking about, how a guy can just not care, and the women
He
are
can
wired
be-
to care,
Yeah.
right? And
Because I don't believe that men don't care like that. Like I can't
Right.
believe that another human can't. And I don't understand how.
And that was my second point. I get what you're saying. You don't understand. Let me see if I'm correct.
Yeah.
I'm guessing what you're trying to say, because I wanted to finish making my point, so I'm cutting you off a little bit. But what you're saying is you don't get how men can go through life without that conscience, without that guilty conscience, and women do. Because, of course, but like you said, that's what makes us different. Women are by nature nurturing, right? And men, not so much. So it's easier for a man to disconnect than it is for a woman, right? That doesn't mean that a man cares less. That doesn't mean that he doesn't feel guilty. He just metabolizes the guilt or those feelings differently than
Look at
women.
my wish came
He
true.
can run it through a filter of money or resources or whatever, right? And this is the logical, cold decision. Rather, a woman is not going to filter through any of those things. She's just gonna approach it through her emotions. Even if she's approaching it logically, it's going to be some emotion behind it. Now, what I was talking about, the conversation in Waco, this is why I brought that up, because those two things are very different. They're equally as important, I guess, right? And that's where we get tripped up on what words are. They're equally important, but they're not really equal. It depends on what domain we're talking about, right? So would you say, I'm of the opinion, and I want to know what y'all's opinion is. Do you? I don't think that men and women are equal. They're different, but those differences is what makes them not equal.
I don't think we're equal.
And what do you?
And it's
why do you
not a
say
bad
that?
thing.
Okay, I don't think it's a bad thing either. But why don't you think it's a bad thing? You want to unpack that?
No, because it goes right back to women being nurturers. That's just what we were supposed to. That's what we're wired to do. That's just what we're supposed to
What
do.
do you
So
think-
once you take the woman out of her natural state, right? That's the word you use is the chaos, because that's like the breakdown of the American family. You get it to where the men can walk away, because it used to be back in the old days, you got somebody pregnant, you got him in that kind of situation, you married him. Like there was no, that's just
Right.
what you did. You got married, you went out, you made a living, you bought a house, you had a
Right.
family, you raised your family, your wife stayed home,
But-
she did what she was
And
supposed to do.
I think. Go ahead. I'll
Now,
get into that in a minute.
When it started breaking down, I think was probably about the 40s when they started seeing a little trend, because that's when all the men were sent to war, right? They were all sent to war, so the women are at home. They still need to make money. The household still needs to run, right? Things still need to happen. So the women started now venturing outside of the home to find ways to make money or to help the war efforts, whatever it may be, right? So that's when you start having the breakdown of the American family. Now you have the breakdown of the American family, and as you say, you ain't shit. So men become you ain't shit, because now women feel, well, he did this while they were gone for a short term, and of course we need to pull our weight. If they can't do it or they're doing something else, and we need to step in and fill that shoe, fine, no problem. But it shouldn't be a long term way of being, because then. Even my brothers and sisters, we look at my mom as the strongest woman we know, because she took care of us. She took care of us, but she worked outside the home. Now, she didn't have a lot of time with us because she was working outside the home, right? And there was a lot of times that she wasn't there because of work. And so we kind of were, left to raise ourselves or govern ourselves with no adults.
I'm trying to listen, bro.
So if it was done differently, where everybody had to take the responsibility for the lives that they created together, no matter, even if they decided to split up the household, it still needed, people still had their roles regardless. Because back then, if a man died, right, then the woman was like married his brother and crap. You know what I mean? Because it was just the way that it was.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So are you saying it should be like that, or?
we need to get more back to that, not entirely.
Right.
but
It's what I was talking about the pendulum. When it. Okay. Before I go into that, I'm gonna say this. I must be feeling the shit, but it's like this. My opinion, and then I'm gonna try to sum up what you're talking about. The pendulum swings right, left and right. You got the world, or the social economic, or the social fabric pendulum swings masculine heavy, and it comes over to the middle, and we were kind of in the middle, like she was talking about in the 40s with the war and everything else. Our social dealings, and other societies do the same thing, but for us in America, and generally the state of the world, the pendulum was swinging this way, and then now it's Teutonic. Now it's where a guy can't take a fucking girl out on a date and show his masculinity without being accused of being toxic, right? Without being accused of being male chauvinist, which is why I say I'm male chauvinist. Back to that, because I'm not really. I'm just talking about true shit. So that's the pendulum swinging thing. That's what you're talking about. Is that we need to go back. The pendulum needs to swing back.
not all the way.
Not all the way.
Not all the way.
Because we don't need to fucking oppress women, and we're cutting their genitals to keep them from enjoying
From being
sex.
pure.
You know what I'm saying? We don't need to do that shit. But it does need to go back in such a way that it's about roles, about having roles. Everybody has a role to play, so we can all reach a common goal, right? The kids have their role. They maintain a stewardship. And the males and females of the roles of those kids play a role, right? The males have to grow up and learn how to be young men and be without their fathers and mothers. The young man's job is to leave his mother and kill his father, so to speak, right? Not literally, but he leaves the mother's womb. He has to graduate and leave the house. He has to get pushed out of the nest. But he also has to kill his father. He has to do more things and do better. He has to reject his father. He has to make his father be somebody that's not important in his life. He is the fucking king now. The prince has to become king. And he cannot become king until the father is dead. You follow me? Now, I'm not talking about literally, but dead in the influences. The heavy influences that you cannot make a decision without his say-so. That's the father dying. Does that make sense?
I know that it sounds harsh and it sounds kind of Neanderthalish. I get that.
But that's the balance.
But it's the balance, and I can speak from experience, like firsthand experience, that a woman doesn't want to be a man. Like, she might be forced to be, but she doesn't want to be. And so,
a woman doesn't want a pussy. She already has one.
That too. But it's just complacent. Because I don't know where the generation started, but I'm thinking probably about our generation is when men just stopped. And now it's come to a screeching halt because I don't see young men doing anything. Because like even my brother, he's what, 33, I think. I think Robert's 33. And like the masculine thing he does is yard work, and he built a little rock garden thing. But that's about the extent of it, you know? It's like, and
but
he's capable. He's capable, and I know that he could.
But that's not his fault, and I don't think it's most men's fault either. Where our society there's what I was talking about. What I was talking about a man killing his father or leaving the home and everything else, all this other stuff. Or there's certain roles that males and females play as children, right? The female has to also take in part of the role as being the nurturer. And that she doesn't have to be a caregiving mother. She doesn't have to be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. But she also has to understand that her natural role is not to go out and provide for the family the same way a man would. She's not equipped to do that shit. You know what I'm saying? Think of it in hunter-gatherer days. If she's out there chasing down fucking tigers or chasing away tigers and hunting down fucking deer and shit, killing them, right? She's going to come back and she's going to want to do whatever she's got to do. But she's going to be too tough and tonic for an infant baby that needs tenderness. You know what I'm saying? She's going to be too tough for that. Right?
She ain't going to have time for that shit.
She ain't going to have time for that shit. The male cannot provide milk for the baby. You know what I mean? So she needs to be there. We're talking about in the old days, right? Ancient times. So it's important for the man to take his strong body, his strong mentality, and go out there and problem solve how to get this fucking animal into the bellies of his family, right? While she's there taking care of, because she can't be wandering around. She might do it from time to time. She might have to, but she can't be trying to nurse a baby and hunt down a fucking deer. You know what I mean? That's not safe for the baby. It's not safe for her, and it's just not conducive. So what do? You send out your best fucking player for that, and they got the fucking male. He has to go out there and problem solve. Now, while
that doesn't give a male a pass to not
that
be
is
involved.
right, that doesn't give him a male a pass to not be involved either. But what? But well, I know. Is that what you were rummaging for? I heard you in there. I said, "What the hell's going on back there?"
She's moving out.
So the thing is it's roles, right? But the man's options are limited, and they're not taught to be creative in their ways, right? In their ways of manhood. And it's what Nikisha and I talk about on a regular basis. Women they don't care if you can fix a car or build a fucking house or whatever. You just need to know how to do shit. And that shit that you know how to do needs to have some sort of utility in providing for their safety and security and their lifestyle. Now, I'm not talking about monetary. Most of the time it's monetary, but it's not always about monetary. Mm. It's just to know that they need to feel safe because that's your fucking role. And their role is to make sure that you're supported. And that's why men